You didn't know from a 24-year-old actress transforming into a cranky grandmother to a sitcom that refused to stay canceled. Mama's Family wasn't just another simple comedy. Behind those laughs were shocking casting choices, backstage drama, exhausting work schedules, and some truly unbelievable behind-the-scenes secrets. What started as a small sketch somehow turned into one of TV's strangest success stories, filled with age-defying transformations, unexpected betrayals, and even a dark storyline where Mama didn't make it out alive. And honestly, that's just scratching the surface. So, get ready, because here are 25 weird facts you didn't know about Mama's Family, 1983. 25. Still a cult favorite. Even decades after it first aired, Mama's Family hasn't faded away like many other sitcoms from its time. And that's honestly kind of surprising when you think about it. The show didn't rely on flashy sets or big-budget production. Instead, it leaned heavily on sharp writing, strong characters, and that unforgettable personality of Mama. And somehow, that simple formula stuck. What really keeps the show alive is its relatability. The family arguments, the awkward dinners, the sarcastic comebacks, they still feel real, even today. People who watch it now, whether for the first time or the 10th, often say the same thing. It feels like watching their own family, just a little louder and funnier. That connection is what turned it into a cult favorite, rather than just another forgotten sitcom. On top of that, reruns played a huge role. The show kept popping up on different channels over the years, quietly building a loyal fan base. It didn't need constant hype. It just needed time, and it got it. Fans started introducing it to new generations, and suddenly, something from the 1980s didn't feel old anymore. And let's be real, Mama herself is a big reason for that lasting impact. Her blunt honesty and no-nonsense attitude still hit the same way today. In a world full of polished characters, she felt raw, real, and unapologetic, and that's exactly why people still love watching her. Before we move on, make sure to hit that subscribe button and stick around for more. 24. Syndicated run was longer. When Mama's Family first aired on NBC, it didn't exactly look like a long-term success story. In fact, after just 2 seasons, the network pulled the plug. For most shows, that would have been the end of the road. But strangely enough, that cancellation turned out to be the beginning of something much bigger. Once the show entered reruns, audiences started paying more attention. It slowly built a following, one that NBC hadn't fully recognized the first time around. Because of that growing popularity, the show was revived in first-run syndication, which was pretty rare back then. And here's the twist. The syndicated version ran for 4 more seasons, which is double its original NBC run. That means the version most people remember today isn't even the one that first aired. The later episodes had a slightly different tone, a refreshed cast lineup, and a more polished sitcom feel. But the heart of the show stayed the same, and that's what kept viewers coming back. It's kind of ironic when you think about it. The network that gave it a chance couldn't keep it alive, but once it was out on its own, the show thrived. That longer syndicated run is a big reason why Mama's Family stayed relevant for so long and reached a much wider audience than anyone expected. 23. Dispute involved Joe Hamilton. Behind the scenes, things weren't always as funny as they looked on screen. One of the biggest tensions connected to Mama's Family involved producer Joe Hamilton, who played a major role in shaping the show. But the situation got complicated because of his personal relationship with Carol Burnett. When their marriage ended, it didn't just affect their personal lives, it spilled over into professional decisions as well. At that point, Lawrence had to choose between continuing the show under Hamilton's production. She chose to stay, focusing on keeping the series going. That decision didn't sit well with Burnett. From her perspective, it felt personal. From Lawrence's side, it was more about her career, and the show she had helped build. But either way, it created a rift that lasted for years. What makes this even more interesting is how none of this drama showed up on screen. To viewers, everything looked normal, just another episode filled with laughs. But behind the scenes, there were real emotions, tough decisions, and strained relationships shaping the future of the show. 22. Carol Burnett and Vicki Lawrence fallout. For years, Carol Burnett and Vicki Lawrence shared a strong bond. After all, Burnett was the one who gave Lawrence her big break, in bringing her onto her legendary variety show and helping shape her career. So when tension grew between them, it wasn't just surprising, it was genuinely sad. The fallout happened during a difficult time in Burnett's life, specifically around her divorce. As things got complicated behind the scenes, Lawrence decided to continue working on Mama's Family under the same production setup. From a professional standpoint, it made sense. She had built her identity around the character of Mama, but emotionally, it created distance. Burnett felt hurt by the decision, while Lawrence was focused on keeping the show alive. Neither side publicly turned it into a big spectacle, but the silence between them said enough. For a while, their once close relationship was strained. What makes this story stand out is that it eventually had a positive ending. Not years later, the two reconciled and moved past the conflict. Still, that period of tension remains one of the most talked about behind-the-scenes moments connected to the show. 21. Played Mama for 16 years. Playing one character for a long time is nothing new in television, but doing it across multiple formats and stages? That's a whole different story. Vicki Lawrence didn't just play Mama on Mama's Family, she lived with that character for around 16 years. It all started back in the mid-1970s on The Carol Burnett Show, where Mama first appeared in short comedy sketches. At the time, no one expected the character to go beyond those bits. But audiences loved her blunt attitude and sharp humor, and she kept coming back. Then came the TV movie Eunice, followed by the full sitcom. Even after the show ended, Lawrence continued performing as Mama in stage shows and live appearances. That kind of long-term commitment is rare, especially for a role that required heavy makeup, a wig, and a completely different physical presence. Over time, Mama evolved too. She started harsher and more sarcastic, but later became warmer and more balanced. Still, the core of the character stayed intact, and that consistency is a big reason fans stayed connected to her for so long. 16 years with one character isn't just impressive. It's a big part of why Mama became so iconic. 20. Show ended when Vicki Lawrence quit. By the time Mama's Family reached its later seasons in syndication, it was doing something many canceled shows never manage. It was still successful. Ratings were solid, the audience was loyal, and the show had clearly found its groove after the earlier NBC run. So naturally, you'd expect it to keep going a bit longer. But that's not what happened. The real reason the show ended wasn't because of falling popularity or network pressure. It came down to one key decision by Vicki Lawrence. After playing Mama for years, she felt it was time to move on. The role had become a huge part of her life, but it was also demanding, physically and creatively. Staying in heavy makeup for hours and repeating the same character over and over can wear anyone down. Instead of stretching the show beyond its natural life, she chose to step away while it was still doing well. That decision essentially brought the series to a close, since Mama was the heart of everything. Without her, the show simply wouldn't have worked. In a way, it gave the series a cleaner ending. Rather than fading out or declining in quality, it stopped at a point where it could still be remembered fondly by fans. 19. Vicki Lawrence had a hidden cameo. Even longtime fans of Mama's Family sometimes miss this small but fun detail. In one episode, Vicki Lawrence actually appears on screen without her usual Mama look. No wig, no heavy makeup, no old age costume, just a quick, almost unrecognizable cameo. The episode is called Rasho Mama, and the moment happens so fast that if you blink, you might miss it. She plays a nurse, blending into the scene like any other minor character. For viewers who were used to seeing her fully transformed into Mama, this brief appearance felt almost like spotting a hidden Easter egg. What makes it interesting is how different she looks out of character. It's a reminder of just how much effort went into creating Mama's appearance. Without the costume and performance style, Lawrence is almost a completely different presence on screen. Moments like this add a little extra layer of fun for dedicated fans. It's not a major plot point or a big reveal, but it shows a playful side of the production. Little behind-the-scenes touches like this are part of what keep people rewatching episodes and noticing new details each time. 18. Rooms changed every episode. If you've ever tried to mentally map out the house in Mama's Family, you probably gave up halfway through, and honestly, that's completely understandable. One of the strangest quirks of the show is how inconsistent the house layout is from episode to episode. A room that looks like a bedroom in one episode might suddenly turn into a storage space in another. The attic is the biggest example of this. Sometimes it's a fully usable bedroom, while other times it feels more like a cluttered storage area. There's no clear logic behind the changes, and the show never really tries to explain them. This kind of inconsistency wasn't unusual for sitcoms of that time, especially those filmed on studio sets. Writers and set designers often adjusted things based on what the story needed in that moment. Still, for viewers paying close attention, it created a bit of confusion. Over time, fans started noticing these details and even pointing them out as part of the show's charm. Instead of seeing it as a flaw, many embraced it as one of those weird little things that made the show unique. It's not perfect, but it adds character in its own unexpected way. 17. House layout. Made no sense. Taking things a step further, the entire house in Mama's Family doesn't just change, it practically defies logic. If you try to piece together where everything is supposed to be, nothing quite lines up. Doors appear in places that don't make sense, rooms seem to shift positions, and the overall structure feels impossible to map out. For example, the way characters move from one room to another doesn't always match the layout shown in previous episodes. A hallway might lead somewhere different from what is expected, or a room might feel larger or smaller depending on the scene. It's like the house exists purely for the convenience of the story, rather than following any real-world design. This kind of thing usually happens when a show is focused more on dialogue and character interaction than on physical continuity. The set becomes a flexible space, changing as needed to support the jokes and situations. And to be fair, most viewers weren't watching to analyze floor plans, they were there for the humor. Still, for those who notice these details, it turns into a fun little mystery. Trying to figure out the real layout of Mama's house becomes almost impossible, which only adds to the show's quirky appeal. 16. Ken Berry played two brothers. One of the more unusual casting choices in Mama's Family is something many viewers don't even notice at first. Ken Berry actually played two completely different characters in the Mama universe, and not in a hidden or disguised way, but as full-on separate roles. In the earlier TV movie Eunice, he played a character named Philip, who was portrayed as a much more successful and polished member of the family. But when the sitcom version came along, Berry returned as Vinton Harper, a totally different brother with a very different personality. Vinton was more laid back, often clueless, and brought a lighter comedic energy to the show. What makes this interesting is that the show never tried to explain the switch. It simply moved forward as if nothing had changed. For new viewers, it didn't really matter, but for those familiar with the earlier version, it was definitely noticeable. This kind of casting shift shows how much the series has evolved from its original concept. Characters were reshaped, dynamics were adjusted, and the focus shifted toward what worked best for a weekly sitcom format. 15. Vicki Lawrence almost refused the role. It's hard to imagine Mama's Family without Mama, but surprisingly, the actress behind the character wasn't immediately on board with turning it into a full series. Vicki Lawrence had serious doubts about committing to the role long-term. At the time, she was already known for playing Mama in short sketches, which was very different from carrying an entire sitcom. Playing an older character required hours of preparation, makeup, wig, costume, and staying in that role for long shooting days. It wasn't just physically demanding, it was also creatively limiting in some ways. Another concern was being typecast. Taking on a role like Mama full-time could have made it difficult for her to be seen as anything else in the industry. That's a big risk for any actor, especially when the character is so specific and recognizable. It was only after the success of the TV movie Eunice that she reconsidered. Seeing how audiences responded to the character gave her the confidence to move forward. And in the end, that decision defined her career in a way few roles ever do. 14. Mama became softer in the sitcom. If you go back and watch the original family sketches on The Carol Burnett Show, Mama feels very different compared to how she is in Mama's Family. In those early appearances, she was much harsher, sharper, and honestly a lot more mean-spirited. The humor leaned darker, and her character came off more bitter than funny. But when the sitcom version was developed, that approach didn't fully carry over. The creators slowly adjusted Mama's personality to make her more likable for a weekly audience. She still had her sarcastic edge and blunt attitude, but now it was balanced with warmth and humor. This change wasn't random, it was intentional. A long-running sitcom needs a central character that audiences can enjoy week after week. If Mama had stayed as harsh as she was in the sketches, it might have been harder for viewers to connect with her over time. So the version most people remember today is actually a softened evolution of the original character. She still complains, still insults everyone around her, but underneath it, there's a sense of heart that wasn't as visible before. 13. Vicki Lawrence. First played Mama at 24. Long before Mama's Family became a full series, the character of Mama had already made her debut, and at that time, Vicki Lawrence was only 24 years old. That's a pretty wild detail when you consider how convincing the character was. The first appearance happened on The Carol Burnett Show, where Mama was introduced as part of a recurring family sketch. Originally, the role was expected to be played by Carol Burnett herself. But at the last moment, the decision shifted, and Lawrence stepped into the role instead. That unexpected change turned out to be a huge turning point. Her performance brought a unique energy to the character, sharp, sarcastic, and completely believable despite the age difference. Audiences responded immediately, and Mama quickly became one of the most popular parts of the sketches. Starting the role at such a young age also meant Lawrence had years to grow with the character. By the time the sitcom came around, she had already mastered the voice, the timing, and the attitude that made Mama so memorable. 12. Makeup took over an hour. Bringing Mama to life on Mama's Family wasn't as simple as putting on a costume and stepping in front of the camera. For Vicki Lawrence, the transformation into Mama was a long and detailed process that took more than an hour every single day. It started with heavy makeup designed to age her face convincingly, wrinkles, skin tone adjustments, and fine details that made her look decades older than she actually was. Then came the wig, carefully styled to match Mama's signature look. After that, the padding and wardrobe completed the transformation, giving her the full physical presence of the character. This wasn't just about appearance. The process helped Lawrence fully step into Mama's personality. Once everything was in place, her posture, voice, and expressions naturally followed. It became easier to stay in character when she physically looked the part. Still, it wasn't easy. Long hours under studio lights combined with heavy makeup can be exhausting. But despite the effort, the result was so believable that many viewers never even questioned it. Mama didn't feel like a young actress in disguise. She felt like a real person. That level of commitment behind the scenes is a big reason why the character became so iconic and memorable over the years. 11. Bob Mackie designed Mama's look. Mama's appearance might seem simple at first glance, but it was actually carefully crafted by one of the biggest names in costume design, Bob Mackie. Known for his glamorous and bold designs, Mackie took a completely different approach here, creating a look that felt real, worn in, and instantly recognizable. Every detail mattered. The floral dresses, the cardigan, the wig, even the way the outfit fit her body, it all worked together to define Mama's personality. She didn't look flashy or over the top. Instead, she looked like someone you might actually know, which made the character even more believable. What's interesting is how much thought went into making the look feel effortless. It wasn't random or thrown together. It was designed to reflect Mama's no-nonsense attitude and everyday lifestyle. The slightly outdated style added to the humor without turning her into a cartoon. This design work didn't go unnoticed. Mackie's contribution played a big role in shaping the visual identity of the character, and it even earned recognition in the industry. It's one of those behind-the-scenes elements that viewers might not think about, but it had a huge impact on how the character was perceived. 10. Carol Burnett was the original choice. Before Vicki Lawrence became the face of Mama, the role was actually meant for Carol Burnett. Since the character originated on The Carol Burnett Show, it made sense that Burnett would take on the role of the family matriarch. But things didn't go as planned. During the early stages of developing the character, a last-minute decision changed everything. Instead of playing Mama herself, Burnett took on the role of Eunice, while Lawrence stepped into Mama's shoes. That switch turned out to be one of the most important decisions in the show's history. Lawrence brought a unique energy to the character that immediately connected with audiences. Her timing, eye delivery, and physical performance made Mama stand out in a way that might have been completely different otherwise. It's one of those rare moments where an unexpected change leads to something better than originally planned. If the casting had stayed the same, the entire feel of the character and possibly the success of the show could have been very different. 9. Bob Mackie won an Emmy. The look of Mama wasn't just memorable, it was award-worthy. Bob Mackie, the designer behind the character's appearance, received major recognition for his work, including an Emmy Award for costume design. What makes this achievement interesting is how understated the design actually was. Unlike flashy costumes that usually win awards, Mama's outfit was intentionally simple, but that simplicity was exactly what made it effective. It perfectly matched the character's personality and made her feel authentic. The wig, the dresses, the padding, and the overall styling all came together to create a complete transformation. It wasn't just about making someone look older, it was about building a believable identity. Every small detail contributed to that illusion. Winning an Emmy for this kind of work shows how much skill goes into creating something that looks so natural. It's easy to overlook because it doesn't draw attention to itself, but without it, the character wouldn't have felt the same. That recognition highlights just how important behind-the-scenes craftsmanship is in bringing a character like Mama to life. 8. A Carol Burnett and Vicki Lawrence fallout. What made Mama's family even more interesting behind the scenes was a real-life tension between two of the most important people connected to it, Carol Burnett and Vicki Lawrence. For years, they shared a close bond. Burnett had discovered Lawrence, brought her onto her show, and helped shape her career from the very beginning. But things changed during a difficult period in Burnett's personal life. especially around her divorce from Joe Hamilton. When Mama's Family continued under Hamilton's production, Lawrence chose to stay with the show. From a professional angle, it made sense. She was deeply connected to the character and the series. Still, that decision created emotional distance. Burnett felt hurt, while Lawrence focused on keeping the show alive. The situation wasn't loud or dramatic in public, but the tension between them lasted for years. What makes this story stand out is that it eventually had a resolution. Over time, they reconciled and moved forward. But for a while, this behind-the-scenes fallout added a layer of real drama to a show that audiences only saw as comedy. 7. Syndication turned it into a hit. At first, Mama's Family didn't seem like a major success. NBC canceled it after just 2 seasons, and it looked like the show had reached its end. But surprisingly, that wasn't the case at all. Once the episodes started airing in reruns, more people began discovering the show. It slowly built a strong and loyal audience, something the network hadn't fully captured during its original run. Because of that growing popularity, the show was brought back in first-run syndication, and that's where everything changed. The syndicated version ran longer, reached more viewers, and became far more successful than the original NBC version. It even turned into one of the top-performing syndicated sitcoms of its time. The tone became lighter, the characters were adjusted, and the show found its true identity. What started as a canceled series ended up becoming a long-lasting success story, all because it got a second chance in a different format. 6. Dark TV movie. Where Mama dies before the sitcom version of Mama's Family, there was a TV movie called Eunice, and it was nothing like the lighthearted show that came later. In fact, it had a much darker and more emotional tone. The story focused heavily on Eunice and her struggles, showing a more serious side of the family dynamic. Instead of quick jokes and comedic moments, the film explored disappointment, frustration, and the passage of time. It felt more like a drama than a sitcom. One of the most surprising elements was that Mama actually dies in the storyline. That's a huge contrast compared to the sitcom, where she remains the central character throughout. For viewers who watched the series first, going back to the movie can feel almost shocking. Despite its darker tone, the film played an important role. It helped prove that the characters could carry a full-length story, which eventually led to the creation of the sitcom. Even though the tone changed later, this movie remains a key part of the show's history. 5. Dorothy Lyman worked 2 shows at once. Working on a television show is already demanding, but Dorothy Lyman took things to another level during her time on Mama's Family. She didn't just focus on one project, she was juggling 2 major roles at the same time and in 2 completely different cities. While playing Naomi on Mama's Family in Los Angeles, she was also appearing on the soap opera All My Children in New York. That meant constant travel, tight schedules, and very little time to rest. She would fly back and forth across the country just to keep up with both roles. This kind of workload is extremely rare, especially in television, where production schedules can be intense on their own. Managing 2 characters, 2 scripts, and 2 filming environments required serious dedication and energy. Eventually, the schedule became too much to maintain long-term. She decided to step away from the soap opera to focus more on Mama's Family. That choice allowed her to stay consistent with the sitcom and continue developing her character. It's one of those behind-the-scenes efforts that most viewers never see, but it shows just how much work went into keeping the show running smoothly. 4. Harvey Korman disliked his role. Not every actor on Mama's Family was completely happy with their character, and Harvey Korman is a perfect example of that. He played Ed Higgins, Mama's uptight and often awkward neighbor who became a regular part of the show's early seasons. While the character worked well for the audience, Korman himself wasn't a big fan of the role. He felt that Ed Higgins was too close to his real personality, which made it less fun to perform. As a comedian, he preferred more exaggerated, over-the-top characters where he could fully stretch his comedic style. That difference made the experience less enjoyable for him. Instead of playing something wildly different, he found himself stuck in a role that didn't challenge him in the way he liked. Even though he remained professional and delivered solid performances, the dissatisfaction was there behind the scenes. He eventually appeared mainly in the earlier part of the series and wasn't as consistently involved later on. It's one of those interesting cases where a character works perfectly for the show, but not necessarily for the actor playing it. 3. Carol Burnett added the Southern accent. One of the most recognizable things about Mama in Mama's Family is her Southern accent, but that wasn't part of the original plan. In fact, the writers initially imagined the family with more of a Midwestern style of speaking. It was Carol Burnett who pushed for a Southern tone instead. She believed it would add more flavor and humor to the characters, making them feel more distinct and memorable. At first, the idea didn't get full support from the writing team, who weren't sure how it would fit. But once it was tried on screen, the reaction was immediate. The accent added a whole new layer to Mama's personality, making her sharper, more expressive, and even funnier. It gave her dialogue a unique rhythm that stood out in every scene. Over time, it became a defining feature of the character. It's hard to imagine Mama any other way now. What started as a debated idea ended up becoming one of the most iconic elements of the entire show. 2. A fan letter started Vicki Lawrence's career. Before Vicki Lawrence became the face of Mama on Mama's Family, her journey into show business began in a surprisingly simple way, with a fan letter. As a teenager, she wrote to Carol Burnett, telling her how much she admired her work. Along with the letter, she included a newspaper clipping that pointed out how much she looked like Burnett. It was a small gesture, but it ended up changing her life. Burnett found the letter interesting enough to look into it further. She even attended a pageant where Lawrence was performing. Impressed by her talent and presence, Burnett decided to give her an opportunity. That moment led to Lawrence joining The Carol Burnett Show, which became her big break. From there, everything started to build. The sketches, the characters, and eventually Mama herself. All of it traces back to that one simple fan letter. It's a rare example of how a small action can lead to a major career in entertainment. 1. Vicki Lawrence played Mama at 33. At first glance, Mama from Mama's Family feels like a naturally older character, someone who fits perfectly into that age group. But the reality behind it is quite surprising. Vicki Lawrence was only in her early 30s when she played the role. She portrayed a woman in her mid-60s, which is a huge age gap to bridge on screen. Making that believable required a combination of detailed makeup, a carefully styled wig, padded costumes, and most importantly, strong acting. It wasn't just about looking older. It was about moving, speaking, and reacting like someone from a completely different generation. What makes it even more interesting is that some of her co-stars, including Ken Berry, Carol Burnett, and Betty White, were actually older than her in real life. Despite that, she convincingly played the matriarch of the family. That level of performance is a big reason why audiences fully accepted the character. It never felt forced or artificial. Instead, Mama came across as completely real, proof of how effective the transformation truly was. And there you have it, 25 weird, surprising, and honestly unbelievable facts about Mama's Family. From wild casting choices to behind-the-scenes drama, this show proved it was anything but ordinary. Now I've got to ask you, which fact shocked you the most? And did any of these completely change how you see the show? Drop your answer in the comments. I'm reading all of them. And hey, if you enjoyed this video, don't just sit there like Mama judging everybody from her chair. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now and tap the bell so you never miss another deep dive like this. Because trust me, there's always more weird TV secrets coming your way.